that. Hello, everybody out there at Instagram and everybody out there watching this video on YouTube now after the fact. But we are here for the SWBL draft Corona style. My name is Sam Skibby, commissioner of the SWBL. I am here virally, social distancing, with my fellow compadres from the SWBL. And we're here to bring you the 2020 SWBL first-year player draft. I have with me Bryan Benware. Benware, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
There's Bryan, the SWBL Astros captain. And then we have in the next corner, we have Peter Leicht.
Hi, hello, Wiffle Nation.
Yes, Peter is captain of the SWBL Brewers. And as you can see, the two-time MVP, not wearing pants, formerly from what team, Spencer?
The Royals and the Phillies and the Indians.
And the Indians, yes. Always a former player for all the teams, but now currently on the Twins. And the reigning MVP of the SWBL, Spencer Bogad. So thank you guys for joining me today. We have to social distance, obviously, and but we are here to bring you the SWBL draft. It's not gonna take too long. We are just gonna go through the picks through everybody and kind of give a breakdown of different people, but you will not see that live on Instagram. We're actually going to X-nay Instagram once we get started with the picks. We're going to start with the Diamondbacks, and then after that, we're going to roll through all the other teams. You know, our draft is brought to you by our three division sponsors today. We have Ketting Associates, Ketting Eye Center. That's who got me these glasses here. We also have Cardinal Blinds and Shutters. Thank you so much, Spencer. We just got some new blinds, blackout blinds installed in our nursery. They look amazing, and they work a charm because McGuire is still asleep currently. And then we also have Glendale Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. I just drove the Jeep to make sure that all of my $200 worth of groceries could fit in this pandemic. Boys, how's the pandemic going for all of you out there?
Baby walker is scare at this point.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to have to probably start doing a lot more laundry.
Yes, laundry. Peter, what about you? How much toilet paper do you have at home?
I think we've got enough. You know, for me, Sam, I was off work for a month, and the day I was supposed to go back, you know, we're on this lockdown now. So it's been nice, a lot of quality time with the family. Just really ready for the wiffle ball season to roll around, though.
Yeah, and Spencer, you know, I saw that you were rich in toilet paper, and have you had many offers on eBay or anything? Are you giving it away to family and friends, or what's the deal there?
No, not yet. We bought a bunch by accident, and now we've got a bunch, so we will be okay for probably the rest of the year. Won't have to go back and buy more toilet paper. So if anybody needs any, feel free to reach out.
Let's
go TP.
Well, that'd be an interesting concept, Peter. Yes, but today we have the SWBL draft, and you know, a lot of people out there in Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we've been getting a lot of questions about, will the SWBL season still happen? And originally we had an Instagram post, thanks to Kevin Pulley, and it was kind of a statement about our league, but you know, it's come down to, it's getting a little more serious and get a little more, you know, a lot of thoughts are happening. If it continues on into Memorial Day, what's the plan going to be? Our backup worst case scenario is possibly to move it to Labor Day. Still the same amount of time. You have the Monday off, and we can fit in the entire season in the same weekend. And we know that'll kind of change some people's perspectives, you know, the travel plans that people might have on Labor Day. But that's worst case scenario. We'll move it to September. But we are hoping that by May we can have the 10-person or 50-person limit lifted, and maybe we can get some games going on Memorial Day weekend. So everybody do your part. If you don't know what your part is going to be for coronavirus, go ahead and look on the SWBL website. Our league physician, Alex Heck, and returning athletics co-captain coming back in 2020, has a nice article there about everything you can do to social distance and to flatten the curve. Hey, let's get started. We got the SWBL draft coming up. We have 7 picks in this year's SWBL draft, consisting of 5 different teams. So without any further ado, we always start this, and this is a brand new thing we started with the SWBL Diamondbacks. And Trent Steffes, and we kind of talked about some of the things, and we wanted to make one team where all the national players can kind of go to from around the country, and Trent's kind of the spearhead for that. And for Trent, he is picking anybody that he would like from the national scene that registers for our league. and he sets his roster. And his roster consists of 2 new rookies, and we're going to talk about those rookies in a second, but we have some returning players as well. Returning this year for the SWBL Diamondbacks are Matt Pizer. We have Handsome Matt coming back. We have Devin Nelson coming back, who actually had one of the worst injuries that we've ever seen in the SWBL with his hamstring that he pulled that one day, and it got all bruised and red. And then we also have a fan favorite coming back to the SWBL, Andrew Lindor, coming back to the SWBL. I don't think he's going to swing a bat all weekend, but he is going to be a big part of the smack talk for the SWBL Diamondbacks. Spencer, you excited to see Andrew back in the fold?
Oh yeah, he's my homie, and miss him. And those Minnesota boys bring a lot of love and some gin, and that's what this league's all about, love and gin. So can't wait.
Yep. And I know, Benware, you guys have seen Matt Pizer pitch before, Handsome Matt, and he was one of their better players, kind of in the top 15 when it came to a lot of their batting categories. And I think that'll be a big get for Trent to have back in his roster, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that gives him some stability. It takes a lot of questions away that, Trent is going to have to answer on who's going to be on the mound. Just that quality arm, as well as, a great addition to his lineup. He's going to not be struggling as much this year, just filling up that roster and filling out that lineup card.
Yeah, for sure. And without any further ado, let's get these 2 rookies in. And Peter, you are starting this fantasy wiffle. We saw that Circle City had started a fantasy wiffle project for them, and they're making a big deal out of it, and it kind of sparked our interest back. And we did this many years back, Peter, and that was kind of your baby that you took and ran with. And we're changing it to kind of make it a little more like Circle Cities, where you have a budget for a team, you pick a certain amount of players, and people can pick the same amount of people, or pick the same people if they want to for their roster. And you're in need of knowing all these rookies, right, Peter? And you got to have these rookies to give them out. So these first 2 rookies we'll talk about, we're going to let Peter talk about after we get done with all the rookies on how that fantasy wiffle is going to work. But these first 2 rookies for the SWBL Diamondbacks that they are signing, and they get to pick their roster, the first one goes by the name of Evan Sibbett. And Evan Sibbett is the reigning West Region Player of the Year for National Wiffle. He is a great player on both sides of the ball, and he is on the HRL national team, and he's on the current champions for the HRL Twin Cities League, the HRL Dodgers. And he was a big catalyst for that team on the mound and for his hitting abilities that he has. And I think that he will transition pretty well into the SWBL's hitting. There are a lot of people at the national tournament who talk about how much Evan looks like a skibby. He got the blonde hair, got the lanky build, and people said that he should come down for the SWBL. And we're excited that Trent is signing him, and he instantly becomes my favorite for Rookie of the Year. Obviously, he's the only pick right now on the board, but I think he's going to be a top-notch player for them. Spencer, you've seen Evan play before. What do you think of this pick?
It's a great pick. He is going to be a guy that makes an impact. The question is how much. A lot of times we've seen players will either thrive or kind of stay middle of the pack, just depending on the players around them. So sometimes you can have a lot of talent, and the surrounding players really impact you. So we will have to see, but I think it's definitely a plus.
I think that, I'm sure you're talking about Jimmy Cole, one of the former players in this league who played for the Diamondbacks his first year. And yeah, you can talk about sports hernias, you can talk about the injuries that he had, but when it comes down to it, only hitting 3 home runs for a big power bat like that. And it took him a while to adjust. In his second year in his sophomore season with Twins, he wins the championship, and he was 3rd in MVP. So maybe it'll take Evan a little bit of transition time, but you got to believe he's going to figure it out soon, being his nice prowess that he is in the HL and around the country. Which brings us to the other rookie that the Diamondbacks will be signing, and that is Casey Urbach, or his nickname in HRL is Stash. And yes, he does have a nice stash. I don't know if it's still there, but NWA tournament, it truly was there. And he brings some more facial hair to the league as well. As you can see, Bryan Benware over there. What a beard. But this guy, his nickname is Stash in the league, a great hitter for them, and joined the HRL national team for the first time last year and did really well for them. So Casey Urbach will also be joining them, coming down. So some new blood coming in for them for the SWBL Diamondbacks. So the Diamondbacks, their roster is forming. And Peter, you have seen the Diamondbacks play the past couple of years, and Austin Steffes was an all-star last year, and he's going to grow into being I think maybe a perennial all-star if he continues down this path. He's doing well in HRL. He's doing well in the SWBL. and I think that he's going to be a big catalyst for their team. You have Trent, you have Matt Pizer coming back, you have Devin Nelson, and now these two rookies that are really good hitters. Do you see this roster forming, Peter, in a sense that they could maybe get back to that sixth place mentality?
I certainly do. I see them with tier 2 expectations. I mean, you mentioned Evan. I think he's my preseason rookie of the year. I think he's everyone's preseason rookie of the year. I've had conversations with Trent Steffies. I've seen the depth chart. I know that seems to be their number one hitter and their number one fielder. So in terms of fantasy wiffle ball, rookies making an impact, I think he's going to be a popular choice. I know his nickname's Psych, so initially he's got to be intense. He's got to be, competitive, I would assume. And then you talk Casey, you got Stash. I think John Dories isn't going to be around this year, so we could certainly use another Stash. He could be a number 4 or 5 guy. The D-backs have, 8, 9, 10 guys. So if they play their cards right, use them effectively, I see them battling with the Expos, the Astros, and the Athletics.
Very good. Yes, indeed. And, let's talk about that for a second, because, Brian, you are on the Astros. You're one of those bottom teams, non-playoff teams, I should say, that are on the bottom 4. And when you see a roster like this and you see a person that's West Region Player of the Year in Evan Sykes-Sibbett, and you see another good hitter with Casey Urbach, and then the return of Handsome Matt, and do you think this roster, obviously bolstered by Trent Steffies, and I know you made some offseason moves as well, but do you think that's going to be a big battle for you guys in that time? And is it a must-win situation, or if you lose, can you kind of take over the other lower teams for that too?
I think, when you're at the bottom, every game feels like a must-win, because you're always clawing to get one additional win. One going from a 2-8 record to a 3-7 record sometimes can feel like a huge victory, especially depending on the opponent. I think you got to also keep in mind that the division that they drew, and maybe part of the reason that Trent went out and signed some of these players to bolster his roster, because they definitely have one of the roughest divisions to be a part of. And so maybe that was part of the thinking of going out and getting, the West Regional Player of the Year. The other thing he's going to have to keep in mind, because he has all those players and because they're traveling, there's going to be a sense of urgency for him to get enough playing time for all the guys too. With that travel time, you're going to want to make sure that everybody's feeling a part of the team and it's worth their while to come down here. So that might be something that Trent is really going to have to keep in mind and make some tough decisions on.
Yeah, we could see for the first time possibly a roster that bats 6 to 8 players, and that's totally okay in our league, and you can bat as many as you want. And it'll be interesting to see what Trent does, and maybe there are a couple of games where he decides to bat, 7, 8 players, and that would be an interesting difference in this league that we haven't seen in a long time. All right, boys, that is the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks kind of get first pick of all the national players that kind of register, and then after that, it's all free game. But we don't have any other somewhat national players around the scene that we know of right now. So it's all going to be more local players that these other players all these other teams are picking up. So with that, we are actually going to leave Instagram Live. So I will say goodbye to the viewers real fast. And we thank you so much for joining us just for the beginning. If you'd like to see all the rest of our picks, make sure you check out the video. Mr. Benware will have this posted right after sometime today or tomorrow, and you guys can see it and see all the different picks for the SWBL draft that are coming up. Stay tuned for the SWBL draft, again, hosted by the SWBL and Heading Eye Center, Cardinal Blinds, and Glendale Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Rams. Thank you so much for being loyal division sponsors. We will see you coming up. We'll have more information about the COVID-19 pandemic and how it's going to affect the SWBL, which hopefully won't be a lot. Make sure you social distance out there. Make sure you're washing those hands, and make sure we try to flatten that curve so we can all get to wiffle ball, getting back to family and friends. Keep all your neighbors safe. Keep all your friends and family safe, and we will see you soon. Thanks so much for joining us for the beginning of our draft, and you will catch the video and the rest of it coming up later on. See you. Share to story. All right. Sweet. Now that we're done with Instagram, boys, we kind of have gone through the Diamondbacks, and now we get to kind of the nitty-gritty of the draft part. And the draft is consisting of, we have 4 more teams that are going to be making 5 different picks. And for the draft, we had the deep D-backs that went through and picked Evan and Casey. And next up, we have the SWBL Brewers. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Peter Leicht to make the decision and make the selection, talk about the reasons why, Peter, talk about your different things. So, Peter, what is your pick going to be for the SWBL draft for 2020?
Well, Sam, thank you very much. With the third pick in the 2020 SWBL draft, the Brewers select Kevin Crowley. He is going to be certainly a role player, potentially an insurance policy, certainly a big bat. So, we have a pretty deep team. We certainly lost David in the offseason. We've lost John Dories this year as well. So, as you know, Jimmy Stout was not around last year. He's battling ulcerative colitis. Somewhat of a question mark, although breaking news, we did get a hold of some steroids, so we're going to see how those work. Thankfully, the SWBL did not do any sort of drug testing, so that really gives us a slight advantage as well. We got Jimmy, we got Derek, but if either of them are going to miss a game here and there, we certainly want to pick up Kevin, a frequent softball player, a big guy who certainly I think can get a hold of the ball and crush it. I would if I had to pick someone to compare him to that's familiar with the league and this crowd, I would have to go with Nick Lake. So I think you might see him in the batter's box, but he's going to be a solid addition. When we first started talking with him, negotiating, he had a pretty long relationship with Corner Bar over the years, was a manager and bartender there. So we thought that'd be a great idea. Sadly, Corner's gone this year for now, but we're still going to kind of bring him around because he's a great guy. Looking forward to see what we can bring. He's going to bring some veteran leadership. He's not 40, but he's in his 30s, and I think we might need a little bit of that leadership to kind of steer straight. So we're very excited to welcome Kevin, and that's where we're at for this year.
Peter, Kevin does have some wiffle ball experience, and we've seen it firsthand, Spencer and I. And Spencer, you're actually a former teammate of Kevin Crowley's at the Tata Brotherhood Wiffle Ball Tournament, and you won a championship together. So kind of talk about Kevin in that realm from a wiffle ball perspective. You've seen him play. You have the experience with him. And Spencer's muted, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully Spencer realizes soon that he gets himself off mute. Welcome.
Sorry, my dogs are barking, so I don't want them to be hurt. Kevin comes from a family lineage of really good baseball players. Lots of good athletic people. We played with him in the Tata tournament a couple times, and his pitching is suspect. I think his arm's kind of given out on him a little bit, so I'm not sure how good of a hitter or pitcher he'll be. He's an excellent hitter. So depending on how the Brewers want to utilize that, he's the type of guy that, even if he doesn't start, you'd feel comfortable with him coming in a pitch hitting role. Not sure how much running he's going to be doing, but as far as a bat goes, he's kind of like a David Ortiz. That's who I'd compare him to.
You don't have to run if you hit dingers. So
that is right, which is what he'll probably do.
The SWBL also, last year in the off season, we added sod in the base paths going to first and down the third base line. And that should help a little bit with the slipperiness and the running abilities to first base, kind of get more traction there. But that might help Kevin out too when he gets those ground ball singles. But like you said, he is a power hitter. We've seen him do that firsthand. And he has a championship under his belt in the Tata Wiffle Ball Tournament. And that's a 60-plus team tournament that does fast pitch. So you got to imagine that transferring over to a medium style, he's going to do some good hittings. But like you said, it's about how the Brewers are going to utilize him. So, all right, Kevin Crowley, congratulations, third pick in the 2020 SWBL draft. And we're excited to see your role-playing abilities for the SWBL Brewers franchise, who has constantly been trying to sneak into that third-place role year after year. Next up, the SWBL Twins are on the clock. And, Spencer, this has been a long-standing tradition that the Twins have continuously been a part of the draft. And you have another great pick this year. You kind of want to talk about your pick and talk about how it's going to affect your team going into season 18.
Yeah, we always like to look at the draft every year and see what prospects are out there. We're never view our team complete until the first pitch. And, one thing that we're really missing is, a bench guy that can enter the game, get on the base paths, create some havoc. So this year with our selection, we will be selecting Michael Durstein.
Mike Durstein, very good. And Mike Durstein has been the longest standing rookie and probably has been selected the most out of every single rookie that has ever entered the SWBL. So we welcome back Mike Durstein. There was going to be a pinch running rule possibly added this year, kind of like how the Tata Brotherhood Wiffle Ball tournament does it. It got shot down at winter meeting, but it would have really helped this Mike Durstein situation and maybe utilized him in a running role more of. And this kind of rounds out the Twins roster. In the offseason, Spencer, you guys picked up Corey McCarthy. And, Bryan, I'll ask you this question. Are the Twins the top team to beat with the Corey McCarthy and then now the addition of Mike Durstein? They have a solid 4 hitting. I know Will Rath is out of it until Monday, right, Spencer?
That's what we're being told. Unless, who knows?
COVID.
The Corona thing could cancel some more weddings. So who knows?
That's true. And he is he was obviously their ace last year, Will Rath, coming into it. But now you add Corey McCarthy into the mix, who was a top 5 hitter, it's seemingly in many categories in the SWBL with the Royals. And while Will won't be there, Spencer has to kind of step up and take that role as pitcher, as ace pitcher for the Twins. But do you think that hitting-wise, the Twins are the team to beat when it comes to the season of 2020?
That's a really tough question. I mean, yeah, you would probably put them 1, 2. You got to give a lot of credit and respect to not the Royals, even though you do have Sam and Gus. I was still considering the Yankees and that powerhouse lineup that they have. As long as John is playing the way he did last year, sure. They're really hard to take over as saying you're the better hitting team. But when you consider how great Chris is at not only power hitting but just getting on base. You got, reigning MVP and then reigning National Wiffle Ball League Rookie of the Year you added to your roster. That puts you up top in contention for that number 1 offensive scoring team, sure. For sure. I kind of feel like the Durstein pick was probably a little bit of a reach. Not really sure how much he's going to add. Definitely not replacing a Will Rath. But, everybody else that they have on. And then you got to keep in mind what's Edlow going to be this year. So, granted, he is a fixture of their lineup. So, definitely a tough team to play against.
Yeah, and the Twins are going to have they have a tough division ahead of them. They got the Royals and then the revamped Diamondbacks. That's going to be a dogfight division for sure coming into 2020. And it could.
I got a question.
Yes.
Did you say Corey was a top 5 hitter last year?
Sure. In some respects.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
It wasn't a year. Anyway, moving on. So we have the Twins with Mike Durstein once again being selected. And congratulations, Mike, on your 6th-time selection in the SWBL rookie draft. Next up, we have the SWBL Rockies. And the Rockies, as you all know, had a big offseason loss this offseason with Brett Spencer, Captain Blake's older brother, Brett Spencer, leaving the SWBL Rockies after winning a championship with them a couple years ago, leaves the Rockies and heads to the Expos, where a lot of his fraternity brothers, roommates, and former roommates, etc., that he knows, and some of his friends from college, high school, and even younger are on that team. And he's going to bolster that Expos lineup. But the Rockies have some pitching questions. Can Grant Boyd pitch? Absolutely. Can Kyle Breida pitch? Absolutely. Can Blake Spencer pitch? Absolutely. But they have 3 pitchers trying to find that depth. Who's going to step up and be that number 1 for them, that ace, that 30-inning pitcher that Brett was. So with the Rockies pick, the 5th pick in the SWBL draft, the Rockies are selecting rookie Chad Young. And Chad Young has been at the SWBL field for many years, never played, but has come to watch the Rockies and is a good friend of all those Rocky players. Peter, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you know anything about this Chad guy, how he's going to translate into the SWBL? And he's going to be used heavily on the mound. I think it'll be interesting to see the Rockies bat 4 people in their lineup and have a solid 4, which could bolster Blake Spencer's MVP numbers. But I think Chad's going to be more of a pitcher. But do you have any idea how he's going to translate to the SWBL on the mound?
I know Chad pretty well. Our wives went to school together back in the day. I see him at the weekend every year for the past few years. I think obviously pitching is a concern. I think more or less the hitting and fielding of the Rockies is going to be about the same. Brett was pretty good, but those 4 killer bees that they had in the old franchise era days, they've won a championship without Brett. So I see Breida as the number 1 pitcher based on all the innings he's logged. I think Blake needs to step up and pitch a little more. And then you mentioned Grant Boyd. He was a Cy Young nominee his first year, and then he came back and just got smoked. So I'm not sure if he's still got it in him, but I think Chad needs to be a pretty solid pitcher for them to at least eat up some innings. Like you said, I think Blake is going to have a pretty solid MVP year this year, but I'm definitely concerned with the Rockies. I'd push them a step down a little bit based on how they finished last year. It's all going to ride on Chad. I mean, if he's going to be this pitching prodigy that they need, I think a lot of pressure is going to be on his shoulders.
Yeah. So, the Rockies are going to be an interesting team this year, and they are in a division that seemingly is up in the air. You have the Astros, you have the Athletics, and you have the Rockies, and it could be an interesting division depending on how the Rockies respond with the loss of Brett. You could see them running away with it and having, some 4 wins that they can get, or you could also see them kind of contending and trying to figure things out, and then all of a sudden they don't have the pitching depth that they thought they did without Brett. So it'll be an interesting storyline to follow for sure. So we welcome Chad to the SWBL Rockies, which leads us to our final team with the final 2 picks in the SWBL draft for 2020, and that is the SWBL Royals. I will try and get Captain Gus Gibby on the phone, and we'll see what he says if we can. We are connected, and we are live with Gus now. You see him there.
Oh, nice hair.
I'll turn him up. Gus, why don't you talk, see if everybody can hear you.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome. Glad I'm here.
Can you hear him, everybody?
Welcome.
All right. Well, I'll kind of reiterate what Gus is saying, but as you can see, Gus and his wild hair is here to join us. And Gus, we've had all these picks going on, and is now up to the SWBL Royals to make the final 2 picks in the SWBL draft for 2020. And Gus, our first pick is going to be the person that's going to be our main 4th player. And I wanted you to kind of talk about him a little bit. You have to speak up probably, but give a little chat about our first pick, talk about who it is and where we know him from, and what a connection is that he has with wiffle ball and where he's located now, etc. What can you tell us about our first pick? Name him first. The Royals' 6th pick in the SWBL draft is?
He drafted him last year, but he was unable to come. But he's now coming this year. He's excited. He's ready to go. He's Ty Butler, and I know him from college, and he was a part of this. He was in a bunch of classes with Ty in college. He was hard to interview. But Leon is also a fun connection. He is cousin with Tyler Flackney, and he's roommates with Tyler. So yeah, we're really excited for him to come out. We don't know much about his playing skills, but we know that he's excited and he's willing to come. So we're excited for him to join the Royals next year.
All right, let me reiterate because I don't believe people can hear you, Gus. But let me tell you this: the SWBL Royals select Leon Cherry, and Leon Cherry was supposed to be there last year, and he's the cousin of Tyler Flackney, who was formerly of the Phillies champion and then formerly second place Royals and Rookie of the Year with the Phillies. And Leon Cherry went to college with Gus and Ty, many classes with Ty at Missouri State, and he actually now is the roommate of Tyler Flackney and a free agent also in HRL from Minnesota. He's coming down to join the SWBL Royals as the 4th player on that team. Gus, thank you so much for joining us for this quick look into the SWBL Royals. We'll make the final pick, but thank you so much for being here with your hair. All right, see ya. So that was Gus Gibby, the captain of the SWBL Royals. And guys, I know Leon was supposed to be here last year. Spencer, I don't know if you know Leon at all, a little bit, but can you talk about Leon, maybe his athletic ability? I will say this, I don't know if anybody caught it yesterday, but Tyler Flackney, Danny Heck, and Leon Cherry, who all live together up in Minnesota, got together to do a video called Quarantine Whiffs. and they went to the basement of their house and set up a strike zone, and they played 4 innings, which everybody pitched against each other for 2 innings each, and they played a game. And like a simulated game, so to speak, they hit and pitched against each other. And Leon held his own, hit a couple dingers, off Tyler and Danny Heck, and their pitching was a little bit faster than what we see. From what I could see, this is the first time I've ever seen him hit. His action seemed really good. But I think it's going to be still an adjustment for him to get to the SWBL, kind of like it was for Corey. But once it got to that adjustment period, I could see him taking off. But Spencer, you want to talk about Leon at all?
Yeah, Leon and I played slow pitch softball together in college for 2 years, and we played Call of Duty online on Xbox a lot. He's a good dude. He's going to fit with the Royals very well. He will probably be the biggest impact rookie since Tyler Flackney in Ty. He's probably going to put up those kinds of numbers. He's I don't know about his pitching, but as far as a hitter and defense, he's a really solid caliber player. He's going to hit really well. So he'll probably do pretty close to what Corey did last year for you all. So Royals probably won't miss a beat.
That is, that's the first big positive thing that I've heard. I know Ty said he's going to be good, but Ty, he's a man of few words, so he doesn't really know what to say. But then seeing that video too, it's just hard to tell with how it's going to be in our league when it's against Tyler Flackney and Danny Heck throwing a little faster and things like that too. But it's an interesting thing for you to say too, and I'm excited to meet Leon for the first time. I haven't met him, but Gus and Ty know him, and it'll be an interesting addition to a division that's already got many storylines going into it. So welcome, Leon Cherry, which brings us, guys, to Mr. Irrelevant, the final pick of the 2020 SWBL draft. You guys ready for this one?
We're ready.
Let's
really
go.
Enjoy this pick with the final pick in the SWBL draft. The SWBL Royals select Mike Bogad. Yes, indeed, Mike Bogad. Welcome to the SWBL Royals. Spencer, did you have any idea that your dad was joining the Royals?
No.
Oh, you missed out because we've been texting. And he is joining the SWBL Royals. We have asked Mike to come play, and don't worry, he will be in the lineup against the Twins on Sunday, ready to go. We are going to be batting 5, possibly even 4 if we have Mike go instead of Leon. But we have Mike Bogad that's going to be joining us, at least for the Twins game. If he does well, maybe more. Spencer, your reaction was big, but any reactions you want to talk about to the people, talk about your dad, say anything to him there?
Well, I hope he hits when I pitch because that's an easy strikeout for me. So
who knows? It might be a tactic to get.
I will say, all jokes aside, it'll be cool. I did not know, but when we did our Tata tournament last year, it was me, Sam, and our dads, and my dad in the semifinals hit a grand slam in fast pitch wiffle ball, which was totally unexpected. It was a really cool moment. So I will make sure that does not happen in this.
Well, Mike Bogad has been wanting to get into the league for some time, especially after the addition of Kevin Skibby to the Royals. And as many of you know, Kevin Skibby will probably be on the shelf this year for the SWBL Royals with some hand injuries and some back injuries that's going on that he's getting fixed up. So one dad goes to the injury list, but we got another dad coming in. And I was a teammate of Mike Bogad's at the Tata tournament, won the championship together. So we're excited to have Mike Bogad join the storied franchise, never won, but storied franchise of the SWBL Royals. But maybe he's the luck that we need to turn it around, especially against the Twins and to get inside Spencer's head. The 7 rookies that we have, I'll go through them again. The Diamondbacks select Evan Civet and Casey Urbach. Brewers get Kevin Crowley. Twins with Mike Durstein. Rockies Chad Young. And the Royals with Leon Cherry and Mike Bogad. They left out a few rookies still. We left out Josh Rogers, who runs the Yellow Bats here in O'Fallon. And then Cameron Smith's brother, Cole Layton, also left out of this list. Two rookies that could make a pretty big impact that weren't selected. It's just these rosters are so hard to crack sometimes. And they are still going to roll over to free agency. And there's some other people too. We don't quite know some of the other ones that are there, like a Brandon Elder. I think he's from a different wiffle ball league here in Missouri. But we just don't know some of them too. So it's hard to crack some of these lineups when it comes to those rookies. But all of them are roll over free agency. If somebody needs to be added for a last minute thing, there's a couple teams that also might need some last minute additions later on. And who knows, maybe even when Labor Day comes, if we indeed move the season to Labor Day, if it's still happening over Memorial Day, some of those guys might get added later on too. But the 7 rookies selected, We'll start with Bryan. Bryan, kind of give your thoughts on the Rookie of the Year race. Does it come down to 2 or 3 people? Does it come down to one person? Are you pretty confident? But who do you think is going to be your Rookie of the Year for 2020, Bryan?
I mean, I kind of hate to echo what you had said earlier, but I think I got to go with Evan, just with his experience, even though, you know, I even have some firsthand experience in bringing some national players into the league, and they've absolutely performed. But sometimes there's a bit of an adjustment period. But I just think with his experience, with his abilities, he's got to be the front runner. I am interested to see what Leon Cherry does, though, after hearing some of the breakdowns of what you all have seen or know of him. You know, coming in and being that Tyler Flackney, that's some big shoes to fill. So it'll be an interesting race maybe between those two.
All right. And Peter, if you take Leon Cherry and you take Evan out of the picture, and you're left with Casey Urbach, Kevin Crowley, Mike Durstein, Chad Young, and Mike Bogad, out of those 5 people, who do you think would make the biggest impact for it? Besides Leon and Evan, out of the 5 other rookies, who do you think would make the biggest impact?
You know, I think, yeah, those 2 are top notch. I would have to go with Casey Urbach or Kevin Crowley. And Casey, for the fact that I think he can really play his way into that lineup. Yep. He's an experienced hitter. He can be a solid addition. You know, Kevin might not get a great opportunity. However, you know, if he shines early on, I think anyone on the team would kind of take a seat and just watch him work. So I'd probably go with Casey, and Kevin Crowley would be my next choice.
All right. And Spencer, final question for you before we wrap up this little SWBL draft and get out of here. But out of all these guys that you see, who is someone that you wish would have fallen to a different team, or someone that you could see possibly going to a different team in the future, maybe make an impact? Is this another situation where if Leon does good, then he goes to the Twins? Kind of a out of the blue question for you, Spencer, but a person that could play for a different team that you could see. Anybody?
You know, I don't see Durstein ever changing teams. I think it's given, but I would say Crawley's a good fit on the Brewers. He fits their mantra, their culture. I don't see him ever leaving. Leon, we actually asked him to play a couple years ago. He just couldn't swing it. I don't think we would ask him to play for us ever because we're set. We got a good crew.
What about Bogad's situation?
Say that again?
What about a Mike Bogad situation? Any trade rumors?
I see Mike Bogad changing teams. We'll see. You know, if he does well for you all, and you know the Astros need to upgrade in a position that could be a good spot for them. But what I'd like to say, I know this is a draft video, but I want to reemphasize how big of a swing the league took when Brett Spencer decided to change teams. You're taking a Cy Young veteran, former everything award winner, taking him from the Rockies, and now that's big shoes to fill. And now you're swinging him to the Expos. That's probably a top 3 pitching duo with what they've got over there. So, you know, not to take anything away from who's signing, but to me, that's the biggest thing that's happened.
You know,
draft, free agents, everything. That's the biggest move to me.
And that would be the next thing we could talk about too, Spencer, is, you know, it's interesting to see the list of people who are not in the draft. And the people who are not in the draft this year include the champions, the Yankees, not making any changes, and then the 3 teams that you got to believe, you know, are trying to get out of the basement, but have done things in the offseason or have been quiet in the offseason. They've done things in the offseason to kind of put themselves in a better situation, you know, with David Olderman going to the Astros, huge get for the pitching rotation for the Astros. And then you have Brett Spencer, like you said, going to the Expos, seemingly making them a top 3 rotation with Jimmy Nelson and Brett. And then also you have the heart of the A's coming back in Alex Heck, who could be a great addition for that team to kind of bolster that community that team brings and could make them a little bit better. And you're right, Spencer, this league has shifted a little bit and has gotten a little more competitive. And I think we can all agree that with these divisions and how the divisions were made up this year, it's really anybody's ball game when it comes down to seeding for the top 3, top 4, top 5 when it comes down to playoffs. So you're indeed right, Spencer. It's a big shift, but we're excited to see where it goes. Let's just hope COVID-19 doesn't make its way past wiffle ball weekend. So with Spencer Bogad, Peter Leicht, and Bryan Benware, thank you guys for coming. Benware, is there anything you want to say before we head out of here, before the season begins?
No, everybody just stay safe out there. Do your part so that we can play wiffle ball when the sun shines. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again for the league for the season. And that's it. It was good to be here, guys.
All right, Peter, anything to say for the viewers?
Yeah, I think, purposes of this draft, I think it really comes down to Evan Sibbett and Leon Cherry as the rookie of the year. Leon's going to have an interesting role. I mean, with the 3 Royals that he's going to be batting with, he bats above 500, keeps that lineup rolling. He could really be the cherry on top for the Royals.
Very good. We ain't saving that one. If this was one of those Jim Rome things, I'd give you a point probably. And
thank you.
Spencer Bogad, anything to say?
Just to kind of go off what Peter said, this is going to be really, really bad. But, if I'm pitching against the Royals and Leon happens to hit a home run off me, I'm going to have to pop that cherry. I'm just going to pop it in the face.
You figured that was coming. Okay. Thank you, Cutting Eye Center. Thank you, Cardinal Blinds. And thank you, Glendale Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, for being loyal sponsors for our league. And we are excited to get the season going. I want to thank all these guys for joining me, and thanks all the viewers on Instagram and on YouTube for watching us as well. And we have plenty more to come for the SWBL. We have the power rankings. We have the rankings for all of the pitching, hitting, and fielding rankings that'll be out. More graphics to come from Kevin Poley. And Peter, Fantasy Wiffle, when's it going to happen?
So we're gonna have the player values out tonight. So from any point on, starting tonight, you can formally submit your rosters of 6 players, 3 hitters, 2 pitchers, and a fielder. We'll accept rosters pretty much all the way up until opening day. As you want, $5 per, and we'll have some good insights sent out tonight.
Yeah, $5 per, as many entries as you want, and you're getting a package if you win, of close to $50 is going to be your package that you win. So $5 turned into $50. Heck, if you even had 3 entries for $15, turning $15 into $50. And we'd like to thank Daly's Daily Smokehouse and Barbecue for sponsoring the Fantasy Wiffle this year. We're excited to have that. So Peter, thanks for taking that on, and thanks to Daily Smokehouse also for sponsoring the Fantasy Wiffle. We'll have that out to you tonight. It'll be on our website where you can submit your roster. So stay tuned for that link and watch out for it on Twitter. Congratulations to all of our rookies. If you did not get selected in the 2020 SWBL draft, you will roll over to free agency just now. So from Sam's Committee Commissioner Peter Leicht, Spencer Bogad, and Bryan Benware, this has been the SWBL First Year Player Draft for Season 18. We'll see you for Wiffle Ball hopefully soon. Wash your hands. See ya.